Niche List Big Influence and all of the other places, we are real Thrive Themes groupies. So I'm really excited to be talking to Shane today. Hi, Shane.
Hello, Sarah, and I'm very happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that I've got some fans. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm very happy to hear it because I'm not the sole creator of our products, obviously, but I think I have the problem that a lot of creative people have, where I'm always a bit worried about my work, and I'm always very happy to hear that someone else is looking at, let's say, our themes or plugins and agreeing and saying, yeah, this is good, right, let's use this. Because there's always this there's always this worry that when you look at your own piece of art, let's say, it never seems to be quite right. So I'm always very happy to hear that people are using it and liking it.
So, Shane, could you give us a little bit about your background? Because you've been in internet marketing and making themes and plugins for at least 3 years now, the 3 years that I know of. So you were probably an undiscovered hidden treasure prior to that. Can you share with us your journey and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, it's actually it's quite chaotic because really, it started. It's a bit of, the lines are quite blurred. Whenever people ask me when did you start with all this, I don't really have a clear answer, because there was, at some period in my life, I was basically failing a university. I was basically dropping out of university, and I decided to do something entrepreneurial. I wanted to do something of my own, but I had no idea what I was doing. Right, I have no training in this. I was completely clueless. But my approach was just that I tried and tried and tried different things, and at first I was doing stuff offline. So at one point I was selling computers and computer parts, and then I got into some kind of contract where I was selling computer components online, but it wasn't really my own business, and it then transitioned from that, because it kind of went well, but because it wasn't my own business, I didn't really have any control and didn't end up making a lot of money out of it. And from there, it transitioned into then actually having my own online business. So it's kind of a blurred line. What I can say is that it's about 4.5 years ago, it was the first time I released a product of my own. So that's kind of what started the path that I'm on now with creating and selling my own products.
And what was the first product that you launched and put out to the world?
So the first product was called Backlink Battle Plan, and it was an information product about building backlinks. And so that was the thing that I ended up doing for for a while. I did this niche site SEO type thing, and my specialty was at the time, or that's kind of just where how things developed, is that I just found all these different ways to build links to get a site ranked. And then I realized that a lot of people would probably be interested in learning that. And I created and sold a course on that topic.
Brilliant. And the thing that makes the biggest impact when I first discovered you was through the Hybrid Connect plugin. What gave you the idea for doing a pop-up? Because at the time there was WP subscribers out there, there was pop-up domination, there was quite a lot of pop-ups, and I would say, looking back, the market seems saturated, but you seem to create something that was absolutely spectacular. Can you tell us a bit about that and how it all came about?
Yeah, I have. This is most of the, or actually all of the products, all of the software products I've created come out of two things. The first is that I want to see that there is some kind of a market for it, right? And so seeing a lot of other products that are selling well is actually a good indication that people are buying this. But then what usually happens, something like, it's about lead generation, right? It's about building a mailing list. This is something I was doing on several of my own websites. It's like a very important, for a lot of websites, very, very important part of what's happening on the website is converting visitors into leads. And what then comes into it is that I have very high standards and I have very specific ideas about what I want something to do, or basically what I want to accomplish on the website, right? And so what usually happens is that I'll buy whatever the market-leading plugin is. I'll try it, I'll be unhappy with it. I'll buy the next one, try that, be unhappy with it, and so on. until I just go, well, I'll just build something on my own, because nothing lives up to the standards I have. Nothing is like, I'm not happy with any of the solutions, right? So if I'm in a situation, and this has happened several times, and that was the case then, I wanted to have a really good list building foundation for my websites. I tried all the products that are out there, and I wasn't happy using any of them. I wasn't happy using any of them. Also wouldn't have been happy recommending any of them. And so to me, that's an opportunity, right? I said, okay, I know how to do this better, and that's when we started building Hybrid Connect.
And Hybrid Connect is no longer on the market now, is it? Because you've got the
Yeah.
new and super fabulous Thrive leads coming out.
Yeah. So what basically happened with Hybrid Connect is that it was one of our first software products, and it did what it did well, but we've gained so much experience in the last 2.5 years that at this point we were like, before we closed it down, we were looking at it and saying, well, this is a decent plugin, but we could do something much better now. And it was at the point where we didn't even want to just improve Hybrid Connect anymore. We just said, let's build something from scratch that's way better, and just with all the skills that we've basically gained in the last few years. And that's what Thrive Leads is just the best we can do now when it comes to lead generation.
Brilliant. So one of the questions that I've been asked quite frequently, and I've been asked to ask you, is do I need something that pops up on my website when so many people say that they hate them?
Okay, so actually, I mean, this is a very good question, and there are actually quite a few points I want to make about this. And one of them is that, of course, it's not. I don't like blanket statements like, you have to use a pop-up. That's the way to build a list. You have to use a pop-up. It's not always the best way to build a list. And so Thrive Leads is not a pop-up builder. It's not, or actually the right term is a lightbox, right? It's not a lightbox builder. You can create a lightbox, but you can basically create any kind of opt-in form and display it in any kind of way on your website, right? So you can have an opt-in form that shows inside your content or at the bottom of your post. You can have a link that opens a lightbox. You can have a sidebar widget. You can have like a ribbon at the top of your screen. You can have a slide in, which is, by the way, a lot of people, who don't like the interrupting nature of the lightbox, because it covers everything, right? An alternative to that that's quite good is a slide in. So that would just be an opt-in box that kind of slides in from the corner of your site, but it doesn't cover the entire content. It's still very attention grabbing because it animates into view, right? But it's not that intrusive, right? So, but yeah, that's very important. Is like, I don't think there's one right answer in most cases, and that's why there's not just one type of opt-in form you can build in Thrive Leads. That's why we wanted to cover all the bases, right? Now, the other thing is that I think it's also something that people worry about a bit too much. So you kind of have to ask yourself, what's in the end what's important to you. So if you test a lightbox against something else, and it turns out that the lightbox just puts more leads on your mailing list, then even if some people complain about it, you have to ask yourself, does that matter? Like, are you running your business for the people who will send you an angry email because there's a lightbox on your website? Or are you running your business for the people who will say, oh, this is a nice offer, sign up for it, learn from you, become your customers, and depending on what you do, you bring some kind of value in these people's lives. Like, who are you running your business for, right? So, yeah, so I kind of want to mention both sides of this, right? On the one hand, it doesn't have to be a lightbox, and if you don't like the intrusive nature of that, there are many other options. On the other hand, don't care too much about like the angry people. Like, I think this is something I noticed in my business quite a lot. Whenever you put a wall between people and something, no matter what it is, right? It's like, please sign up with your email address, or share this to get something, or give me money to get something. Some people are always angry about that. It doesn't matter. Like, those are not my customers, right? So in the end, you have to do what's right for your business.
And if they're angry about a simple thing like sharing something to get something, or opting in to get a nice report that will help them overcome a block or a hiccup in their business, then the chances are they're going to be angry about every single little thing and really rather resentful, and they're not the kind of people you wish to work with.
Exactly, yeah. And another thing is, I mean, this is something, especially when I was doing information products more, the crazy thing about this is that if you put out something if I put out a video, let's say a 10-minute long video for free, it's quite difficult to get people to watch 10 minutes of a video, right? Here's a great way to get people to watch 10 minutes of a video. Ask them for money first, right? That works great. If someone's paid for it, they're going to pay more attention. So it's also, you kind of have to see both sides of it, right? The same people who might be angry because you're asking for an email or something, they just ignore your content if you put it up for free, right? So yeah, in the end, I think we have to be a bit pragmatic, and just kind of look at the numbers and do what's right for our business. Yeah.
Hmm. That's very good advice. Thank you for sharing that. So back to Thrive Leads. When you first
Mhm.
started talking about it, you can use it as a lightbox pop-up style. You can use it under post, and you
Mhm.
can use it in pretty much all widgetized areas of your
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. Any widget area. Yeah.
Any widget area, you can actually pop it in.
Mhm.
Okay, where's the best converting areas to put that opt-in and ask people for their email address?
So in general, but again, there's like no right answer to this. But in general, the more intrusive options do tend to do better, right? So
Mhm.
if you have a big, like, in your face light box that pops up in the middle of everything, that tends to do well. Another thing is has to do with relevancy. So if you have an offer at the end of your post that is very closely related to what your post is about, you'll see great conversion rates off of that. So yeah, relevancy is another thing, and that's also where the two-step opt-ins are quite good. Where inside your content you might have a link that says that's as part of your content. You're talking about something, you get and click here to get whatever that's closely related to what someone's just reading. They click on it, a light box pops up. That tends to do really well because, again, yeah, because it's highly relevant. So the trick there is that you're offering something that is more than just a generic offer, which is good to have. It's good to have like a site-wide generic offer that wherever someone comes, they can sign up to get something, right? But there's a lot of power in then also offering much more specific things, and that's also something that we took a very close look at for Thrive Leads. So what we have in Thrive Leads is just an extremely detailed targeting system, right? Where you can determine exactly, you can create an offer and say, show it in this category, but not if the post has this tag, or show this on the blog page and in this tag, but not on this page template. Like, you can basically exactly determine where you want to show which offer, so that people who are willing to do a bit of extra work and do this kind of targeting can get, I mean, immense benefits out of this. This is how some of the largest and most successful companies online make all of their money, basically. Like, if you look at, if you buy stuff at Amazon, right? They're like the masters of that, of sending you recommendations that are for you because of the stuff that you looked at, because of the stuff that they know you're interested in, right? And you can't really imagine Amazon doing something as primitive as just sending the same offer to everyone, because
Mm.
they're aware of how incredibly valuable it is to target people, right? And so with Thrive Leads, we want to give you some of those capabilities as well.
I'm quite lucky because I use Thrive themes. They're my absolute favorite theme ever, ever, ever. I'm currently using the minus theme, and at the top of each category, I have an opt in box related to that category. So if it's about blogging, then they're directed to the 30-day blogging challenge. If it's about WordPress plugins, it's directed to a lead capture for my WordPress plugins list, and so
Mhm.
on. And it wasn't until I actually installed this that I set up a Kindle list. And one of my most popular posts ever is places where you can promote your Kindle book for free when you do it on Kindle, Amazon, KDP Select.
Mhm.
And I popped up a category opt in at the top of that. And in the space of a month, I'd grown a list of 750 people. And that post has been up 3 years. and I just sit there and I can't even do the math of how many leads
Hmm.
that potentially came through and I ignored because I wasn't targeting the Kindle people separately. I just had
Yeah.
a blanket opt-in.
Yeah, that's such a great example, right? That's the power of a relevant offer, right? It's not in many cases if you do it right, it's not a question of I'm getting 10% more leads. It's like I'm getting like hundreds of leads that I wasn't getting before because I'm making a relevant offer. Yeah.
And in my case, I'm now in the position of, what information am I going to give these people? And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorting out the information to be able to give them useful, valuable content as well as make really useful, relevant offers. It's a fine line, but I really
Hmm.
loved being able to laser target what people were interested in when they came over to my site. So it's really
Hmm.
good that people will be able to do this with Thrive Leads because it's incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. When I downloaded my review copy about 5 minutes before we started talking, I noticed that there's animations. Can you tell me more about the animations on Thrive Leads, please?
Yeah, that's also mainly for actually you can animate multiple of the types of opt-ins, but it's mainly also for these like lightbox types that show up on screen, right? And we have a couple of different animations now. This is we tried to include some good animations that aren't like obnoxious, because it's basically about getting attention, right? It's basically about drawing visual attention to this opt-in. And one of the reasons we included different animations is because, so one of the most important things about Thrive Leads is that you can test everything, right? You can test everything. This is one thing that really frustrated me about other solutions and also about Hybrid Connect. I mean, Hybrid Connect had split testing, but it was quite limited. You could basically only test different content, right? Different stuff in your opt-in box against each other. Now you can just test everything. So you can test different animations, or if you want to find out, well, what's better, should it just appear immediately, or should it like slide in from the side, or should it zoom in, like does it make a difference? That the truth is I don't know the answer, and you don't know the answer either for your own, like for your specific website and audience. The only way to find out is to test. So we wanted to give you a small toolbox of animations that you can test against each other and see what actually makes a difference. Yeah.
That'd be quite good because I've seen some of them on various pop-ups, but they've never been particularly good, which was why I was quite excited to see yours because I know you do really good stuff and that they'll work. So I'm going to be testing
Yeah.
that out this afternoon. So everybody over to my website, tell me what you think. Okay, I got some questions from my community here,
Okay.
both of who wish to remain anonymous. The first one is, do I still need to use lead pages?
Well, it depends on what you use lead pages for, right? I mean, um, I find it's quite, even though I get this question often, I find it's quite difficult to answer because ultimately lead pages and what we produce are two very different products, right?
Hmm.
For different people, I feel. But here's the thing. So Thrive Leads specifically is only for adding lead generation elements to your website. Okay, that's what it's about. And it does that in many ways that Lead Pages doesn't. So there's not that much overlap. I think the only overlap really is that Lead Pages has the lead links thing,
Hmm.
where you can have a link that opens a two-step lightbox, right? And we have that too. I think that's really the only area of overlap. So all of the stuff we've just talked about, with the targeting, with adding all these kinds of different opt-ins to your website, that's something you can't do with Thrive Leads, uh, with lead pages, I mean. And on the other hand, I mean, lead pages has all these templates. You can build these landing pages. It's hosted. They have all this other stuff that's not in Thrive Leads because it's just a different product, right?
Hmm.
Having said that, we have a product called Thrive Landing Pages, which also lets you build these landing pages of this kind on your site, but that's a separate product. So as a Thrive Themes member, you get that as well, but that's a separate product from Thrive Leads. So yeah, I think the best answer I can give is there's not that much overlap between the two products. So
Mm.
yeah,
So if you've still got lead pages and use it and love it, you're still going to need it because they're not overlapping products.
yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. And I know who this question's from, but I'm not allowed to say. And it's, I'm not very techy. Am I still going to be able to use Thrive Leads?
Well, I do want to say that Thrive Leads um, is not made like the goal with Thrive Leads wasn't to make the most beginner friendly thing possible. So, and what I mean by that is, as a product developer, you usually have a choice with software. You can say, okay, let's make this super easy. Let's make it, and that usually means, just a piece of software that does one thing, and just, you install it, you click OK, done. There's nothing you can do, right? It just does one thing, anyone can use it, finished. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was to build the most advanced lead generating plugin for WordPress, and it is. I mean, the people who are going to get the most use out of it are power users, right? Because of course, I mean, look, it's not difficult, right? You can install Thrive Leads, you can use one of our templates. We have a lot of pre-designed templates in it. Use one of our templates, replace the text. It'll take you like 2 minutes. Integrate it with your autoresponder. It takes you another 30 seconds. And then just publish it and say, display this all over my site, and click OK. That's it, right? You now have a pop-up showing on your entire site, and you'll start getting leads. But you probably don't need Thrive Leads for that. I mean, you might still want to use Thrive Leads because it's pretty good, but like you're using 5% of the plugin if you're doing that. If you really want to get the most out of it, then you will start using our A/B testing options. You will use different types of opt-ins. You'll use the targeting options to show the right offers in the right places and so on. And that means you'll be investing a bit more time. You'll be spending a bit more time thinking about, where do I put what and so on. And yeah, it means that you have to be comfortable navigating a user interface that has many buttons and links and things to click. So when someone says I'm not very techy, I'm not sure what that means. I mean, you don't have to write any code to use Thrive Leads, right? All you have to do is use it. Like, I would say that our user interface is a lot less complicated than most TV remotes. Okay, so and it has fewer buttons, I would also say. So if you're comfortable using all the buttons on a TV remote, you are more than advanced enough to use Thrive Leads. But it's not made for beginners. It's not a beginner product.
Right. Okay. And my final question before I let you get back to the sunshine and the fun of Thailand is, let me go and get it. Oh, this is from Debbie. She says, can she have your leads, please?
My actual leads.
She said if she doesn't ask, she won't get. So
That's true, yes. But actually, that's I do want to actually follow up on that, because getting my leads wouldn't be that useful, because lead generation is a lot about it is about building a relationship in some way or another, even if it's not a personal relationship. So what I do is quite a lot of like personal stuff where I show up on video. People know me and relate to me basically as a person. But even if that's not what you do, the real value and power of lead generation comes from knowing who the people on that list are, right?
mm-hmm.
So you know who they are because they bought a specific product to get on your list, or because they signed up for something to get on your list, and so on. And that's where the real power comes from. It's against the relevancy thing, right? So if I just get someone else's leads, this is the problem with solo mailings and buying leads and whatnot. If I just get someone else's leads, I get a bunch of random people and I start sending them emails. It's not that valuable, right? It's not as valuable as getting your own leads, and intelligently, using email marketing to stay in touch with them, to show them relevant offers and so on. So I would say, even if you could get my leads, that probably wouldn't do you as much good as if you just start building your own list.
Thank you for that. Oh, before we go, I've just remembered the great slider debate. You came up in
Yes.
discussion in one of my niche list groups, and it said sliders are out. So can you tell us a bit about sliders, why they're out, and how I'm going to tell these wonderful people that as much as they love them, they're not doing their websites any good?
Mm-hmm. So, like I said before, in general, I don't like blanket statements, right? But in this post, I just said sliders suck, get rid of them, because I felt like it really there's a real need for like a counter position like that, because sliders are the most amazing fad. I mean, and the comparison, I can't remember the numbers, but basically, if you go to a place like Theme Forest and you just look through themes on there, WordPress themes on there, it's hard to find one that doesn't have a massive, usually full screen animated slider on the homepage. It's hard to find. Like, that's how crazy it is, right? It's hard to find an example of a site, like of a theme at least, that doesn't have a slider. And obviously, because we produce themes, people keep asking us about them, right? Why don't you have sliders, basically, and will you add one, and please make one, and so on. And so I just wanted to explain, sliders are one of the things where there's just a mountain of evidence of test data basically showing that sliders are just not good at anything, basically, right? So what that basically means is that if you currently have a slider on your website, if you replace that slider with literally anything else, like even if you just get rid of it, or you replace it with just a headline, or you replace it with an image, static image and text, or you replace it with a video, or just anything, it's very, very unlikely that the slider will win in a test, right? That the slider will make you more money or lead to greater visitor engagement. In fact, and here's one of the things. I mean, if you actually, and that's not even that complicated to do, if you actually measure how many people click on which slide, right? Let's say you have 10 slides. How many people click on these slides? You'll see that there's an extreme drop-off, right? Like, if among the clicks, first of all, there won't be that many clicks, but usually, 90% of the people will never click on the second or subsequent slides. Most people will never see all those other slides because they don't, think about your own browsing behavior. When's the last time you visited the website and you were just sitting there looking at it for several seconds, right? That's not how people browse. So by the time the thing flies in and changes and whatnot, the people are already gone, right? So yeah, basically, bottom line is that there's so many tests showing that sliders they don't perform as well as anything else. And there might be some exceptions, but for the most part, they're doing good, right? That I just wanted to make this post and say, listen, this is why we are not wasting our developers' time creating a slider feature for our themes when in all likelihood it's just going to ruin your conversion rate. So yeah, if you don't believe me, which is good, if people are listening to this saying, oh, that's not possible, everybody uses sliders, just run a test. Just test it, okay? And end up using whatever, if your slider performs better, good for you. But just run a test and you'll probably see that whatever you replace the slider with does better.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Shane, I've just noticed the time, and I've also noticed when we started talking, it was quite light at your window and it's quite dark, so I've kept you longer than I thought. Thank you so much for your time. And
It was my pleasure.
it's been lovely hearing about the history and your philosophy around your products. It's been great.